Hello, everybody. This is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. We're hoping that everything is sunny and shiny over there, as it's not in France today. And also, you can find us on the UPRN website. That would be the United Public Radio Network.com, and Roku, cable television, Facebook, YouTube, X, and other internet platforms. And this show is a traveling show, is what I must say. And this is personally kind of exciting for me because this is a very new backdrop, because we are in the home of Angelique Peigne.
Peigne.
And we are at Renly Chateau. Renly Chateau, the fabled, famous place. Of course, Dan Brown penned it with the Da Vinci Code, and everybody came to Renly Chateau to see this amazing place and find the Cathar gold and find the secrets of the Grail. And they only got consciousness instead, because this is a high vibration place. It is a beacon place. And what I'm saying is a beacon, there's a beacon, literally an invisible beacon of energy, the highest vibration that resonates out of here. In fact, there's beacon points on the land, and we're not going to tell you where they are. I will say they're not in the church. The church is very powerful. And we are right beside the church, because that is Angelique's home.
Yes.
And
a magical house.
A magical house. In fact, we really can't show this on the screen, but we had the computer on a table. Underneath the table is a plexiglass protector that protects you from falling down into a cave that goes about 2 stories deep. She can turn on a light and you can look down there. We're not doing that today, but that's right below us, because the energy is coming up from Renly Chateau, as it is fabled that there are many infinite type of beings, guardians, ascended masters, etc. Their spirits are in the mountain itself. And they're alive, they're vibrant, and they're coming into this computer and this table, and it's empowering us. It's just wonderful. Angelique has a home that she allows people to rent a room here to just get absorbed by this phenomenal energy. If we fall asleep or pass out, it's probably because we've had too much energy and we're taking a short nap. So, the name of the show today with Angelique is Cosmic Midwife. And I can't think of a more appropriate title for this woman, because she has a power that I have never, ever seen anything like anybody else have. So, appropriately titled Cosmic Midwife.
Yes, so it's not hi everybody. So yes, I'm Angelique. I was born in Brittany, so I have a deep Celtic background.
And we love that accent.
And I lived in Orléans for 15 years. So I say hi to the New Orleans guys. And been living like a lot in Paris and London. So my old spiritual awakening was there in England, and all the magical sites there, and knowing Rennes Chateau. And just to go back to that title of Cosmic Midwife, it's something that came probably 5 years ago, something like that, when I was trying to understand who or what I am. And that's the words that came into my brain. And it's not linked to the 3D midwives as a term,
No.
but more as an evolutionary birther.
Yes.
Right. So
An evolutionary birther, and now her residency and one of
Rennes-le-Château.
her many projects is to help the consciousness of Rennes-le-Château in this
Evolve.
area evolve.
Yes. Yes. So what I do work on different levels. It started more with businesses and companies because I do have a 17 years corporate background in big industries.
In which you're an engineer.
I'm an engineer by training, mechanical engineer by training, so I know a lot of the science-based things. And then then the part of what I call birthing angels came, where I actually help couples go through pregnancy and fertility. And this is when the term came, but I understood that the consciousness that I'm helping birthing, even through the couples, is the same that I'm helping the businesses. And then the third part was the earth.
Well, that's really fascinating. You never told me that part about the couples. And it just brings up a question. Well, how did you help couples become fertile?
So one of the what came through is and it's not for every I'd say not every children, but there's a particular frequency that I'm working with that is more tapped on the 9D. So I'm not so much of a number person, but the information came, so this is what I'm sharing it. And it was specifically named Birthing Angels. So actually, in the work that I'm doing with the parents in the conscious conception of fertility, is I'm helping the parents raise their vibration and be more embodied in their own personal angelic frequencies. So to allow both of the bodies to be at an enough frequency so that the baby of a higher one can come in and be birthed. And because a lot of fertility issues are based, so you do a lot of shadow work on each person's story and history and ancestral lineages.
Which would be a lot of the emotional blockages and belief systems.
Exactly. But you have a lot of the stress from life right now about performance. And then there's been, a third one coming with the COVID vaccines that has impacted a lot the womb of women. And so at the time when it came, COVID wasn't here. So now everything kind of make more sense to help to support, the couples
right. So
through this journey of fertility.
wow. So it's a lot in whatever the obstacles are, whether that be emotional or physical things of what we ingest or taking in. And that creates a density.
Yes.
And you're bringing in angelic frequencies to bring in a higher.
Yeah, to help actually the body, again, find back its original structure. Right?
Yes.
And as the body, so it's like body whispering. So as the body find back a more settled, even for the nervous system and for the organs, original template and frequencies, then the fertility arise better. Which leads me to the third part with the earth. It's exactly the same thing that happens.
That is one fertile mama when we're talking about the earth. It's the most fertile being and most accomplished and most powerful.
Yes.
But yet it still needs people like us to help it.
So there's a thing about like the earth has its own intelligence and doesn't require humans to, when we go on site, you see a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to do that for that spot. But for me, it's more being in tune with a particular space, because some people will hold some keys in their energetic field. So it's not about doing something, if guided to, of course, but it's about presence in a particular place to open or to allow an expansion on the site. And the only thing that the site would require is presence and love.
And love.
And love.
And your own particular gifts that are uniquely to you. And why I say that is that even though you're really special, I've not met anybody quite like you that has the wherewithal to say, I go to a location, a town, a city, and today it's, or this period of your life is really Chateau. And I'm going to be this facilitator or this instigator, initiator to bring up this higher level of consciousness and see what all of those components are and bring it forth with our love. We can all do that. And that's a great message. Would you not agree that we all have that potential?
We all have that potential. And what I've learned, in the past years, because I've been, of course, working with different levels of energies and beings and supportive energy like Mary Magdalene and Yeshua and other beings. But what I found extremely empowering first and easier is actually to work with your own heart and connect directly with the place and the earth. Because this is the more authentic. You're not creating a prayer. You're not in the mental field. You're actually in the feeling and in the beingness and the humility at the place where you are or with the sites where you are. And my connection with the elements. So when we speak about alchemy, all of the elements and the weather, the fire, the earth, the water comes with, for me first, that heart connection and that love connection. And a lot of the time people are like, oh, am I allowed to go on the site? I would suggest to be in your heart and say, here I am with my heart, and this is what I have to offer. Only that, not even a flower. But
and when you said the word humility, that makes that perfect fit. You are humble and you give everything you have that you know is inside of here.
Is inside, to make the connection with the site. And if it's only staying at the entrance, it's only staying at the entrance and say, okay, I'm here and I honor that. And I'm still bringing this love to this place. And that's it. I don't do anything else. And if then there's a process of a lot of things happen with the crystalline grid within the earth, but then it will just happen by itself through a feeling, going down and really sensing those original crystals that holds all the wisdom that are going to unfold in the coming decades and centuries. So this is the key, but the key to go there mostly come from that new creation field of the heart, the electromagnetic field of the heart space and of the heart.
And when you think about that, the electromagnetic heart space field of the heart, do you think the heart is evolving as a collective consciousness?
It is evolving in its understanding. So from a spiritual base, the heart teachings have been, coming through different streams of religion or native cultures. But it got lost in the mix about the intimate relationship and what people think love is. And so we have to open that definition of what love is, because sometimes people think of it as a just nice to have, and it's just too cheesy thing, and you actually cannot trust your heart to take the wise decision. That happens a lot today. People don't trust their heart.
They trust their head.
They trust their head, but not their heart to take the right decision to.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, that person is right for me because we both like tennis, We're Dallas Cowboys fans. We make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And the list goes on. But it's not listening to her heart.
No, the training, for me, the training of the heart, or it's not a training, but as I've been walking this path, Hearth helped me so much to develop the heart presence because it wasn't expecting anything from me, or I wasn't expecting anything from it. It was simple, it was playful, and it was bringing joy with that connection.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot, and I do a lot even with people, what I call serendipity trips, even in places I don't know, because we're just, it's like a treasure hunt. I'm just waiting for the next invitation. So you go back in that innocence, energy of innocence and childlike a bit, a treasure hunt to see where is going to be just the next piece, and then poof,
And I guess there's a lot of different ways you could do that. When we're in France in these power spots here, you take people to power spots, and that opens and unlocks them.
Yes.
At the same time, if you're not in this area, you might be back in my hometown of Austin or where you've lived in other places in France, United States. You don't have access to that type of stuff. You're using a different type
of connection. It depends, because for me, I manage everywhere I go to find those places. Because, and that's why, people invited me actually as well to come to, and this is what I do in helping people rebirth themselves, is to use their own environment where they are, even that if I don't know them. And as I look at, the map and feel the map, I kind of get the hints of where to go.
Wow.
And sometimes they're not the famous one. They're not the one that are known actually.
Wow. But it connects them with the earth.
But it connects them with the earth, and it connects them, it's like, because with this connection to those earth spots, what happened is a redesign and reconnection of the root. So then the person is safer, more safe as a human, the human part of their body.
Wow.
And it becomes more playful. When people say, oh, you're ungrounded, sometimes that concept can stay very etheric. Or they say, oh, draw down some roots from your root chakra down in the earth. For some it works, but for some it doesn't work. But as you go through some of those sites like that, it does help to straighten the root and hence the safety and hence the abundance, actually. So, and it initiates the inner rebirth of the person, but it helps as well with the site and the site's expansion and opening up.
It is a relationship.
It's a relationship.
And they're all over the world.
Yeah.
And you're also connecting to some of the deepest places within the earth. It's all available to you. It's how I see it. It's like you can go into the center of the earth and connect with Gaia or the core of the earth and have that come and energize you, or other places as well.
Yes.
And so you're teaching people how to
access that.
Do that.
So I'm teaching, or it's more a showing. And allow the person to have their own, experience with that.
Yeah.
And when it becomes physical, it's so tangible that it's unquestionable in a way. So a lot of my work the prior years were, heart and above, and now it's becoming heart and below, because we are changing the matter. We are changing, or like Penny last week speaking about the new earth. But it's actually with being in those physical places that we're bringing that forward as we're rebirthing ourselves. We're helping the earth in its own evolutionary journey through herself rising up and through us helping her to open up. It's like acupuncture points, in the body. The body has its acupuncture point. It will have its own frequency. It will rise up depending on different epigenetics factor. But then if you put a finger, you help enhance in the meridians and in the plane,
And
the
so
energy.
if it's a sacred site that, let's just say, opens your heart or maybe opens your throat, when we go there and we connect to it, or we don't even have to go there, we just have to visually go there, or in our imagination go there,
Yeah.
and it can start opening
It
our
can
throat
help.
or heart or various
Yes.
other places.
Yes, exactly. And so you can do it, of course, etherically by distance. But you know, there's a thing about being human and going physically there. It's a bit more playful, but you don't have to,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
exactly. Well, my first travels to Renly Chateau was visualizing being here and doing meditations with it. And I kept seeing this beautiful color of blue that was kind of that dark but bright blue. And then, of course, when I finally come here, that's what the dome is painted. It's this dark, bright blue with the stars in it. And I'm going, wait a minute, this is very familiar. There is this connection. It's a greater intelligence that we all have. It's not like I'm super special, though I am super special, but we can all do this. You just have to ask, visualize,
I think
trust.
it's trust, developing the focus. For me, it took some years, you know, to have that relationship with Earth. It required me to leave quite a lot of things behind. Doing those serendipity trips, not even knowing 24 hours before where I would sleep or anything, has been quite stressful, but it had to build that trust muscle inside. So it all contributed to that. And I remember one of the joke, because, well, I have many stories that I will write after, but when I was starting to do a Tour de France, first I didn't want to come back to France.
Yeah, you were working in Iowa and New Orleans and various places in the United States as an engineer.
Yeah, I did. And circumstances, you know, sometimes happen. And you're like, okay, back to France, did a piece of work with Brittany. And I have a big thing between Wales and Brittany. And here I receive an invitation from two friends within 30 minutes saying, what are you doing for your vacation? And actually, this whole trip, which I didn't know how long would last, started with one friend and ended up with the other one. So the Alpha and the Omega. And as I was driving to the first one, the town where she was Tours in France. And I'm driving with a big storm, and I know something was going to unfold. And then the cheeky ones upstairs.
The tricky ones upstairs. Cheeky.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm on. And this is actually what happened for 2 months. And I ended up doing like the whole Tour de France, but every time there was an invitation coming to the next site with someone that I knew maybe from 15 years ago. The whole trip, you know, organized itself alone.
And this is in a car, not on a bicycle.
No, it was on a car, not a bicycle. I like a bit my luxury. But this is how I ended up in Saint-Baume randomly. You know, before there was so many things written about it, or even Saint-Maximin. I arrived in Saint-Maximin near Saint-Baume. I didn't even know about Saint-Maximin. I'm at the bottom of the mountain. I just tie my shoes, and a guy come to me, and he's like, I know I can speak to you. And he's a guy who, I don't know in English how you say, but he cut fire.
Yeah.
And yes, after that, he asked me some tips about his practice. And he said, you need to go to Saint-Maximin after that.
So to tell the listeners about Saint-Maximin and Saint-Maximin de Baume, this is where there's stories, and, you know, we don't want to create an argument, because 3 weeks ago we had somebody on the show that said this didn't exist at all.
Yeah.
There's a lot of controversy. Mary Magdalene lived in the cave or spent a lot of time doing different types of prayers and energy work. Of course, they didn't call it energy work at the time. She communed with the stars, and her skull is in the Cathedral of St. Maximus at Baume. I've been at both places. They're phenomenally powerful.
Yeah.
Who is it?
We don't know.
We don't know. But this was the beginning of your spiritual
Yeah.
journey. And before we say
know.
another word, we're kind of a midpoint at the show.
Yes.
So I like to tell everybody that you are with Bart Sharp at Becoming Quantum Conscious, and you are with Angelique Peigne.
Peigne.
And you can contact Angelique through angeliquepeigne.com or angeliquepeigne@gmail.com. You can see her at Renly Chateau, have a tour with her, be in this phenomenal house. She has other projects going on, and all of that's great. Also, you are on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which this show is perfect for the UFO people because I think Mary Magdalene commune with UFOs, but that's another story. We are broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana, 107.7 and 105.3, and also on the UPRM website, Roku, cable television, Facebook, YouTube, X, and other internet platforms. So you started your Tour de France.
Yes.
And went to Baum and somehow
and Saint-Maximin.
made it here.
Yes. So Saint-Maximin, interestingly, was actually, I arrived right at the moment where they were taking off the skull from the crypt out.
Oh.
And I didn't know. So I just arrived, perfect time or God's timing. And as they were doing that, I had to stay next to it. And I cried for 30 minutes up until they put the skulls in between the 4 archangels on the display. And that is happening just a few days before they do the Mary Magdalene procession on the 22nd of July. So I really had no idea about that. And then after that, I went to Tarascon because another thing got dropped. They have a relic of Saint Martha. And there, the crypt was closed. But I went to speak with someone and they brought me in the crypt. But they didn't open it for the other tourists, only for me. There's a thing with me that crypts opens up when I arrive. But so there was that whole recollection of that time that came. And then I arrived in this region. But that was, back at that time. It was not my awakening. My awakening happened more than 10 years ago through a heartbreak. And the healing energy started to flow through. And that's why heart has been becoming my main focus. Or, I don't know, it's something that I was born with. And I knew it was all about the power of heart. So... yeah, the healing came through a heartbreak from inside out.
So the emotions related to heartbreak and the resolution of those emotions started bringing you clarity, therefore more awareness.
Exactly.
Which is great for everybody to listen to. Is like, what is stopping you or inhibiting you emotionally to really feel in your heart, and what's inside of you. To me, when you really connect with your heart, if you really get down to the essence of what it's always vibrating as, it's joy. It's an infinite. It's that there's a part of you that's always complete and whole.
Yes.
But you do not realize all the power or all of what that offers to you until you stop and slow down. And also clear a lot of the gloppy stuff, such as emotions, that are getting you distracted from really feeling it.
Yes, and a lot of the time you're like, oh, too much emotion, too much feeling. I'm going back in my head. I need to operate and I need to do, X, Y, Z, which is why it took me so much, so many years, because my rational mind, scientific mind was still there. And I had the other one. So I literally did a one 160, going from one side to the other side and then, bringing the two back together. But for me, it's easier to speak about emotion and physics. In physics, you have thermofluid, but emotions is the element of water. And as you study thermofluids, you can understand emotion even easier without it being, just a definition, but it's a feeling and it's actually fluid.
Wow. I never really saw the emotions hard as the element of water, but that makes perfect sense.
And so that's why you can actually incorporate elements of mechanics in it. That's why I speak about the mechanics of the heart, which can help the brain to understand it. So you have the brain become an ally rather than something that is resisting.
Indeed.
And creating tension and contraction in the body. It's like you have water retention on a river. And it's like the brain built the wall, and then as the water goes through the wall, it creates more resistance inside the body through the nervous system. So anyway, it's a whole thing, that we can go at length into.
Yeah, it almost was like the brain is more in the sympathetic functioning of the nervous system, whereas the heart is parasympathetic.
Yes. But no, it's how can you allow both of them to work together?
Yes, exactly.
And it's all in the belief, the belief that we have about what is possible and what is not possible in terms of creation.
Yes. And if you bring it back to water, water holds so much memory. It's like the most essential element for all the other elements to function as. It holds memory of all things, so much more what consciousness is.
Yeah.
And the heart is the conduit of all of that.
Yes.
And so when you take it into the earth, it's quite powerful.
It is powerful. It's life-bringing. You've got the different level of the cosmic waters and the cosmic warm, and the human water and the human warm, and the earth water and the earth warm, and like aligning the three together as you brought creation forward, whatever the creation is. I think it's the journey of, I would say, all woman that is becoming more conscious about that. But as men, I think I've got a question for you. As men, with those cosmic warm, that they can still be in that space for their own rebirth.
Well, I think we got a masculine and feminine in everybody. And so we hold it a little bit differently, almost like maybe we don't embody it as deeply, but yet we serve it, we feel it. And the male energy, I think, is trying to give it something more and directing it as opposed to just receiving it and being with it. That would be, I think, a difference.
A difference between the two.
Yeah. You're talking about, I just be with it. I open my heart up and I go deep into a place and I just acknowledge it and things start to happen. Which brings us to, here you are at Renly Chateau.
Yes.
She's not the Marie. She's not the owner of the Renly Chateau. She's one resident. And yet she is a cosmic midwife for Renly Chateau. It's a little secret job, so to speak. And here she is bringing that forward. And so what is that like for you to be this cosmic midwife of Renly Chateau?
So for me, it took me a lot of time to say yes to the house, because I know when the house came that it was coming with more. So all of us who have opened up energetically, the places where we are going and staying, we become partly guardians of those places, wherever we are, because we're just open, and then things start to work through us. So now being that close to the church and the top of Rennes-le-Château, for me, in Rennes-le-Château, in a long time ago, it used to be an acropolis. So they are
Explain that. Macro?
acropolis, meaning there would have been a lot of many different temples, not only to one god or goddesses, but there would have been different, energies.
Wow, interesting.
And so, and we know, from a longer time ago, there were more than 20,000 people living, around here. So as you go up the hill, it would make sense that it's an acropolis, or there would be an acropolis as well, etherically at the top of it, right? And a lot of people can start to feel that. And so I'm one contributor, and I'm one holder of that. And there are many more in the village who will recognize themselves and who you would have heard on this station.
It's kind of a secret society, actually, folks, of people who are aware of what's happening at Rennes-le-Château and know what the vibrations are. It's not so much the history and all of this stuff, but we just become aware of the vibration and become a part of it.
A part of it. And it's a knowing. When we say secret society, it's not a secret society. It's like it's like the Catholic creed is, you just know. You look at someone, you know that they know. And this is it. And what has been happening with me and the way I contribute myself to this place is with the house. And I've got 2 bedrooms that I'm renting. And I know when people come here, they have to stay minimum 3 days, because if they want to really soak into the energy and start to move through, I would say ideally it's 6 days. And you can stay longer, of course, but if you really want to get to the heart of it, it's 3 days, minimum. And by the way, they're on no website, so the only way for you to come here is to send me an email.
Yeah.
So,
and you will not find this in books, so to speak, because this is a different type of language we're talking about, the language of energy.
Yes.
And it's passed down through awareness, basically.
Yes.
And people coming to some of the same conclusions. Before I met Angelique, I used to sit really near her place and meditate, because I knew the beacon was in a certain location, and I would meditate with it and just get the vibration of it. I couldn't go to it because it was on private property, and now I've can, a long story. But as I met people and would mention this, some would look at me like I'm just nutty, and other people go, oh yeah, it's there. And so as you're aware of this, and as a cosmic midwife, I don't want to say, what's your job with this, but what do you feel driven to serve?
So for me, it's really about the opening and the widening of the heart field. And the words that came about this place, and no, particularly, I would say my mission, it's not really mission, but my contribution. And when working with the beautiful vortex I have in my house, in that tunnel, it's the Om. So Om, the sound Om, within the home, the body of the seed of love. And you need to sink into those terms, the Om within the home of the seed of love. And you just gently allow the energy to come through your feet and rise up. And as you go deeper into those energy, this is why when people come in that area, they have a really sense of homecoming.
Yep.
There's a piece of themselves that connects back.
Indeed. And you can also do it if you're in Iowa or California or
Just tuning
South
in.
America, wherever. You can find that home inside of you of connecting with the earth, bringing it up into your heart, and start developing that. However, when you are in powerful places, they seem to just open you.
Yes, this is what has been happening. Like, I've had a lot of people as groups also, they come and we do pieces of work together here. And no matter where you are in your own evolution, if you've been on the path, for 5 years, or if you've been on the path for like 30 or 40 years, the same effect happen. And this is where probably humility come. I would say most for the people who have been on their path for a long time because they think they've seen it, seen it all. And then they arrive here and they're like, oh, okay, didn't expect that to happen here. So this place is not going to bring you what you expect, actually.
Well, humility is a powerful thing. And we think about humility, it's like a revealing of all your defenses, all of these preconceptions that your defensive says, well, I know it all, or I'm so evolved, and you really have to show me whether before I'm going to accept you. But you just put all of that aside and say, I'm just really ready to listen.
Yeah.
And get out of your head. And as you say, come back home through the to your heart.
Yes. Yeah. And though a lot of people speak about those words, and sometimes you need to hear them a lot of time before it hit home.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to hear them through a certain voice. Because it will bring a certain energy, like a key. It's a key that unlocks.
Yes, yes. I wanted to go back to the Tour de France. It really brings me to the story of Osiris, who was cut up in 13 parts, I believe, and they were thrown about all the country of Egypt, which to me was more about, well, Isis found all the parts and put them all together and gave him a golden phallus or phallus of lapis lazuli. That's a controversial subject. However, I think it kind of compares with what you're saying. It's like I went to all of these places in France and found a sense of wholeness I had never known before.
Yes. And this is why I encourage those serendipity trips, because it brings you back to yourself. And in a way, then you start and you're like, oh, maybe I didn't need it to go to all those places. But there's a thing with the epigenetics of each site that you can collect. There's a thing about the element of surprise. There's a thing about building the trust in something that is bigger than you and knowing that each next step is guided.
Yeah.
And that for me, I've been doing this with people in Crete, in France, in Spain, in UK. I've been doing that in the US, and they all come with different, different themes.
Yeah.
Actually, so depending on what you're working with, and it's a fun way to do it.
Yeah,
it's adventurous. It brings adventure.
Spirituality and energy and awakening are fun. Trying to conquer the ego and figure out what your life is about is not so much fun, just in my personal opinion. So what does it feel like to be connected to this place? Because when you've talked to me about this the first time I met you, you were really saying that it's a very much of a womb energy and consciousness that I hold a place with, like Rennes Chateau, like we're connected. I feel Rennes Chateau inside of me, and my presence goes into Rennes Chateau.
Yes, it's like morphing.
Yeah.
It's a morphing thing.
What does that feel like?
It's, I would say, you know, the movie Avatar, when they connect in the water or with the tree in their spinal column. And so you're just one.
Yep.
This is the perfect illustration. Like when I arrived in that house, I was sleeping literally on the floor of the living room with just a super small mattress. And I had to add my spinal column with the house. But I've never done that anywhere else, but I had to do it here.
Yes.
And this is the osmosis that happens. And it's the connection with then the unseen world from this place.
That's yes. And it's not so much, Renly Chateau is very powerful, and it doesn't even sound like this is your ultimate destiny.
No.
This is just
A
one of the
part.
lessons.
Yes.
And as we talk to our listeners, you know, we may want to ask that question: where are the places that you feel it easy to be in communion with? I had a lot of spiritual experiences in my backyard, feeling the earth there, because I just love my home. I love my backyard. It has my poetry in it, and the poetry of that place. So it was a great entry place to go deeper. Almost like to be humble.
Yes. And I know for me, when we speak even the concept of home, I left London in January. No, I left my corporate job in January 2019. I was still doing the energy work in parallel, evening and weekends, and more as a strategist and companies optimizer. So I was doing my magic in a different way, in innovation, in tech. I'm still doing it by missions, but it was still happening in that way.
So your energetic being was getting much bigger than the company itself, and bringing that into the company.
The new innovations in the company, yes. So when I left, I could feel in my energetic field this part totally living. And I knew, you know, a lot of people say you can do the two at the same time, but I knew at one point for me to step in my next level, I had to fully let it go for the entire energetic field to up level and redesign itself to where it's meant to be. And it took me 3-4 years of actually following the intuition of the places where to go to be very comfortable and having found home within my body when this house in Rennes-le-Château came. And I had no idea I was going to live here. I had no idea. And I think this is one of the ultimate steps when you know, there's a thing about co-creating and being very precise into what you want to co-create, and then still allow something that you have not imagined ever happened. Yes. Like ending up in that house there. Which
something bigger than you showed up.
Yes. So it's that thing at some point when you let go enough of the control of, you know, the little will wanting to have what it wants for something even bigger to manifest.
Yeah. And it's kind of like what we always use this term, our superpower, but this is a power anybody can have. Angelique has a natural talent with it that has come through her choices to cultivate it. With that, what do you think if more people had this attitude that I could connect with the earth and be a part of the earth consciousness, open my heart, and a new adventure would show up for me? How do you see any visions about what that would create in the world?
For me, as we do that, it brings the energy of betterment, but organic. And this is what I call the organic magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's the honoring of life. It's more beauty, because you will want automatically things to be more beautiful. So it brings back the fertility in all aspects of life. And that involves the politics, and that involves businesses, any type of businesses, and that involve bringing new innovation that are more aligned with Earth.
Yes. And I would think it'd also affect our relationships.
And the relationship between each other.
You know, I think in relationships sometimes we're looking for something in another person because we don't feel whole in ourselves, and we're hoping through this communion of getting it right in a relationship that will happen. Whereas you sound like you're fulfilling a lot of that through your relationship with the earth.
Yes, so some you could say I'm becoming codependent with Earth. But again, you cannot live a life totally alone. Part of life is to interact with other human beings, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes you need to give yourself a break and just be you, and even if it's messy. You know? And I know at some point, like, I threw all the spiritual teachings out because my head was saturated with everything you see on social media and everything. I'm like, I'm done with this thing because I'm trying to control the way I am. But what if I'm allowing the I am to show me who I am? And through nature, and this is what I call the organic magic, and actually my own inner power and my own inner skills and talents, they just blossomed even more with that connection with the earth, which is why I call it the organic magic. It's a different type of magic. You will have the ritualistic magic that will bring certain things, and then you have the organic magic that brings you another entirely different level.
Stay at home with your own home.
Yeah.
To build your power.
Yeah. And it's much more simple.
It is a midwife's reality of holding this in your womb. Whether you're a man or a woman, it probably feels a little bit different, but it is holding that magic. And to me, my guess is it makes you feel more complete and whole just naturally.
Yes. And even, you know, connecting with that earth. Right now, you've got so many sun flares, cosmic ray, the different as well, you know, with 5Gs and all the radiations around, but also the different egregores of town, cities, politics, everything.
Yep.
And having that, and I'm not the first one. Everybody's writing, oh, you know, connect with nature, you'll feel better. But actually, it does become, it's no longer something that you have to do. It's just becoming inherent.
Yeah. It's getting something innate inside of you.
Innate inside of you.
Active and alive. And it becomes a stronger voice. And it only becomes a voice through practice.
Yes. Yeah, it was the practice.
So we're coming to the end of our show. So I want you to think about a short message you would like to give everybody. And as you think about that, you're with Becoming Quantum Conscious. I am Bart Sharp, and our guest today is Angelique Peigne. Why can I not get that right? At angeliquepeigne.com, or you can email it
at angelpeigne@gmail.com.
Angelpeigne@gmail.com. You can contact her and have counsel, tours, residency, all of these things, and in a most magical place, Renly Chateau. But also, I always get it that she's, I don't know what bigger things is for her, but, you know, being a midwife from a community is a really big thing. Also, you are on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3 out of New Orleans. Also on Roku, UPRN website, X, YouTube, Facebook, and other internet platforms. So, Angelique, what wisdom and do you have for everybody as a party message?
I think what was coming, I was feeling my heart and going on my third eye, and it was really like, honor yourself and honor everything that's in front of you. Would it be nature? Would it be something inanimate? Would it be the unseen? Would it be a person? Everything. So yeah, and just, feeling that deep connection, heart to heart, but without having to say anything.
The heart has a different language.
You don't command it, actually. And you allow it to be.
Yes. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with Cledstone Jordan and Becoming a Medium. And wish everybody well, and thank you so much for being on the show, Angelique.
Thank you,